want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Hi, this is Claudia Wells. I was Jennifer Parker in the original Back to the Future. You can find me through ClaudiaWells.com, and you're watching Where It Was Made. Enjoy.
Well guys, we made it to 2015. This is heavy. I'm standing on the spot where Marty McFly first arrived in 1955. When he went to find his neighborhood, Lyon Estates, behind me, he found it completely empty and under construction. As you can see, not much has changed. In fact, many of the places look very similar to the way they did when they shot the movie in 1985. So come with us as we return to our beloved Hill Valley. This is Back to the Future, where it was made. Ah, crap. I forgot extra plutonium. Before being greenlit, Back to the Future was rejected over 40 times. It would go on to be the #1 movie of 1985, so I guess it worked out okay. Let's start from the top. The garage was a wooden facade built into the parking lot of a Burbank, California Burger King. It was designed to match the garage of the Gamble House in Pasadena, which stood in for Doc's house in 1955. Marty then skateboards through the parking lot and hitches onto the back of a truck to take him through town. And with that, we have our first introduction to Marty McFly, as played by Michael J. Fox. Many people know that this role was originally played by Eric Stoltz, but what you may not know is that Johnny Depp, John Cusack, and Ralph Macchio had also been in running for the role. Almost every time I pass by this Burger King, there's a fan there taking pictures, typically with a skateboard. And on October 21st, 2015, the day that Marty McFly arrives into the future, fans of all shapes and sizes gathered here to celebrate their favorite movie. So we're here on October 21st, the day that Marty McFly actually arrived back to the car, and I opened up a sandwich. Get a load of life preserver. Dork thinks he's gonna drown.
Hey McFly, your shoes unlace. Don't be so cold, McFly. Listen.
The event was called the Million McFly March, and it was held to raise money for Parkinson's research with Team Fox.
Listen, I gotta have time to retype. So where's my reports? Hello?
I left it in 85.
Butthead.
There were hoverboard making contests, people in costumes, trivia competitions, and of course, DeLoreans.
I'd like to remind you to vote for Mayor Goldie.
I don't want to see you in here again, all right?
All right, I'm out.
Make like a tree. Let's go. Get out of here.
Come on. Next, we come to Hill Valley High School. These scenes were shot at the Whittier Union High School in Whittier, California. Among this school's noted alumni are John Lasseter, founder of Pixar, and President Richard Nixon.
Whoa! Clean this place up.
We'll come back to a different area of this school a little later on for a certain dance. In the meantime, we go to the gym where Marty auditions for the Battle of the Bands. This location was not at the high school as some would think, but at the McCambridge Recreation Center in Burbank, California, only a short distance from the Burger King.
With pinheads.
Hello, fellas. I'm afraid you're just too darn loud.
And then, of course, we have the famous Clocktower Square, where Doc Brown harnessed the lightning to send Marty McFly back to 1985. It's pretty cool to be here 30 years later. The set was actually on the Universal Studios backlot, where they shot other films such as To Kill a Mockingbird, Gremlins, but of course what it's most famous for is being Hill Valley, a nice place to live. Check it out. Save the clock tower! It was at this iconic location that I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with a pretty cool guest.
cool.
I'm here at the Clock Tower with Mr. Bob Gale, producer and writer of the Back to the Future series. Bob, thanks so much for joining me today.
Happy to be here, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
And congratulations on 30 years of the coolest franchise ever.
Thank you very much.
Since we are called Where It Was Made, I gotta ask you a couple locations questions.
Yep, of course.
Are there any locations in the final films that you envisioned much differently when you were writing it?
Well, when we started trying to figure out where we were going to shoot this movie, shooting here on the back lot was not on the table. We imagined going to a real town and dressing it for 1955. And we scouted Petaluma, California, which is where Joe Dante made Explorers.
Okay, yeah.
And we liked Petaluma, but we realized the amount of expense that would be involved in taking out the modern day street lights. And, you know, we're talking about shooting in November. People were putting up Christmas decorations.
Right.
It was going to get really expensive. And our production designer, Larry Paul, who had worked with Bob Zemeckis on Romancing the Stone, and interestingly enough had designed Blade Runner, he was leading the charge saying, do this on the Universal backlot. I can make it great. We'll have total control. We can do anything we want. And Larry was right. He was absolutely right. Thank goodness he didn't give up and just kept pushing us in that direction.
Oh, perfect.
And he was 100% right.
Good call there.
Yeah.
Well, that leads to my next question. Were there any particular challenges while filming on location that you remember?
Well, one of the interesting things shooting here on the back lot at night, some of those scenes when Doc is telling Marty what to do to get ready to go back to 1985, they're standing in front of the car. They're standing right down on the street there. The DeLorean door is open, and Doc is giving them these instructions. And it's really, really cold. You know, it's 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And it gets cold back here. It can get down to 30s, and it probably was. So we're doing these shots, and in the middle of the shot, the DeLorean door just starts slowly going down.
Yeah.
And Zemeckis said, God, can somebody get that goddamn DeLorean door open? We open up the door, start shooting again, and it starts going down. Well, what we discovered was that the reason that those doors stay open is that there's a valve, and it's filled with some gas. And, of course, nobody expected that you would leave the door of a DeLorean open for 15 or 20 minutes at a time to shoot a movie. You open the door, you get in, or you take your groceries out, and then you close the door.
Right.
So once we realized that the gas in this valve was contracting because it was so cold, in between takes, we had our special effects crew out there with hand hair dryers, and they were just heating up the gas in there so that the door would stay open for a complete take.
Hey, whatever works, right?
Exactly.
While the whole town square is used heavily throughout the film and is host to some of its most memorable scenes, there is one building in particular that is the star of the show. I'm talking, of course, about the clock tower. Save the clock tower! Save the clock tower! Yes. Save the clock tower! This iconic structure has survived 3 different fires, one of which, appropriately enough, was caused by a lightning storm. I'm about to drive the strip of road where Marty catches the lightning and travels back to 1985. This is some dream come true stuff right here. Hell yeah. So even though this is the point where Marty goes back to 1985, we're going to go the opposite way, back to the locations of 1955.
Here is a newspaper that you've never seen because it wasn't in the movies. This was designed for Back to the Future Part 1, and as you all remember, Farmer Peabody thought that a flying saucer crashed into his barn, he would have been raving about it. He would have been committed.
The Peabody Farm is located at the Golden Oak Ranch in New Hall, California, which is owned by Disney and, as I found out, not really open to visitors. We then return to the quiet road in Chino, California, where Lion Estates should be. Here's the spot where Marty hides the DeLorean behind the sign. The water tower visible in the film that Marty walks towards is actually part of a nearby women's prison.
Mr. Sandman, Mr. Sandman.
Next we come to Lorraine's house in 1955. The tree that George falls out of actually belongs to a filmmaker who ended up making a full documentary about that tree. So there's that.
Stella! Another one of these damn kids jumped in front of my car!
Well, safe and sound now, back in good old 1955.
1955?
George McFly's house is located just a couple homes over from Lorraine's. Both houses are located in Pasadena. It's here where Marty appears to George as an alien. It was because of this scene that producer Sid Sheinberg wanted to change the movie's title to Spaceman from Pluto. Luckily, Spielberg stepped in and responded by thanking him for the joke memo. Sheinberg was too proud to admit that he was serious, so the title stayed Back to the Future. Good thing. The exterior of Doc Brown's home and garage were shot at the Gamble House. Take it away, Bob Gale.
Exterior Doc Brown's house was the Gamble House. Everybody knows that. The interior of the house was not the Gamble House.
Okay.
The interior was another green and green house in Pasadena, and it's called the Hill House. A great match, because the Gamble House wouldn't let us shoot inside. It's a national monument, of course. They're not going to let us shoot inside. So we shoot with Eric Stoltz, because we shot 6 weeks of the movie with Eric Stoltz. We do these scenes there, and then we have to go back and shoot these same scenes with Michael J. Fox.
Right.
Well, Mrs. Hill sold the house, and the house was in escrow.
Okay.
So we had like 1 week to get back into that house and shoot those scenes before the new owner would own the house, and we didn't know if we could make a deal.
This beautiful piece of American craftsmanship was home to the Gamble family of the Procter & Gamble Company, until it was given to the city of Pasadena as a historic landmark in 1966, and is now a museum. Now then, let's go to a dance. Even though the Enchantment Under the Sea dance takes place at the high school, the scene was filmed at the Hollywood United Methodist Church, a prominent English Gothic landmark in Hollywood, California. The church was also used heavily in the film Sister Act. The parking lot where Marty and Lorraine park and where George gets the courage to stand up to Biff was filmed around the back of Whittier High School, where we visited earlier. So, with all right in the world, let's take it back to 1985. The McFly home is located in Arleta, California. The owners aren't the biggest fan of their house's cinematic legacy, but were nice enough to let me film around their home.
Marty! I need fuel!
So I'm standing in the spot where one of the most iconic scenes in the movie took place, where Doc shows up at Marty's house and does the famous line.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Marty arrives in 2015 on October 21st at 4:29 p.m. And at this exact time, in the exact spot, fans gathered to watch a DeLorean retrace the time travel route.
The future is now!
And then, of course, we have the Twin Pines Mall, where Doc Brown first unveils the DeLorean here, and Marty McFly escapes the Libyans to go back to 1955. This was actually shot at the Puente Hills Mall in Puente, California, and the JCPenney made famous in the movie is actually not here anymore. It's now a Burlington coat factory.
Great Scott!
At one point, the time machine was going to be a giant laser in a room, then a refrigerator in a nuclear blast, before they settled on the now iconic DeLorean. Wait a minute, Doc. You mean to tell me you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
The way I see it, if you're gonna build a time machine out of a car, you might as well do it with some style. Once this thing gets to 88 miles an hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
What's this? What's this?
It's then that some uninvited guests show up.
The Libyans!
Marty escapes in the DeLorean in a route that runs alongside the mall, then back through the parking lot towards the back corner. It's from here that he travels back to 1955 and sets the whole thing in motion. So that'll do it for this episode. I'd like to thank you for joining us for Where It Was Made. I'll see you in the future, or the past. Excuse me, I got a ride to catch. Thanks for watching, and be sure to click the link at the end of the video to watch my full interview with Bob Gale and check out other episodes of Where It Was Made.
Hey Ryan, I don't think we have enough roads.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.